This is what the Lord says in Jeremiah: when 70 years are completed for Babylon, I will come to you and fulfill my good promise. The key word is 70 years are completed. It is now the 71st year in Israel. Of course, the Middle East sees it a little bit differently as they celebrate their liberation. 70 years have passed, and it was marked on the 71st by an earthquake and, of course, the drums of war. While some are saying there will be no war. But yet I see a sign on Saturday that is hopeful. Remember all those signs we saw last year, and I said that that day was coming? Well, today, 12,000 Israelis are singing a song. 12,000. This is going to be a cool show.
Hey there! How you doing? Jacob is here once again. Jacob Israel. If you're new to the channel, thank you for joining me, for spending a little time with me. I'm going to talk about something a little out of the box, so I figured I'd come to you from the virtual set and, get you feeling a little all spiritual, if you will, because that's the kind of show we're talking about. How does God speak to us today?
How indeed?
Some of the prophets back in the day, they were a little nutty. They came across a little bit, you know what I mean? There was Jeremiah when he walked around, with the big yoke. And I don't mean egg yolks. I mean, I'm making a yoke here. This isn't a yoke. I'm talking about a yoke. The one that they put on cattle. A beast of burden. God told him to put that on, strap himself to it, and walk around town and tell everybody about it, because bondage was coming to Israel. Then, of course, there was Isaiah, who ran around naked, just took off his clothes. God told him to do that. My favorite, though, would have to be Ezekiel, who, made a loaf of bread on a bunch of cow poop. Yeah, God told him to do that, too. I'm serious. Sometimes people that have a devout faith and have a connection to, for lack of a better word, the Most High, the Creator of all, sometimes the things that they say, sometimes the things that they do can come across a little kooky. Little bit kooky. That's going to be like today's show. Okay? So just be ready. End times prophecy, baby. And it's something that you need to pay attention to. So buckle up. Hey, welcome back. I'm glad you haven't left me. I've been having a tough week. I gotta be honest. Been going through some things. Been questioning a lot of things. I've been doing a lot of reflection, a lot of praying, a lot of meditating, a lot of inward seeking. That's kind of the thing I do, right? Teach me the truth, no matter what the cost. And it was a hard week because, it's like sometimes I feel inspired and other times I don't. And some of the shows that I've been doing, as you know, the last two especially, kind of bummed me out, had me a little bummed out. The one that I did just a little while ago on the thumbnail, right? About Trump considering sending 120,000 troops to combat this Iran conflict. Staring at me right in the face. 120,000. 120,000. So I was going through a hard time, right? I was like, all right, Lord, you got to tell me. You got to tell me something. And then I'm stumbling around, and I stumble upon Stephen Ciccalante, and he did some show. I don't know. It was probably about Iran or something. I didn't really catch most of it, but I just I clicked over, and guess what he was talking about? He was talking about Psalms 120, which I got to tell you, really, that could have been my frame of mind. In my distress, I cried unto the Lord, and he heard me. Deliver my soul, O Lord, from lying lips and from a deceitful tongue. What shall be given unto you, or what shall be done unto you, you false tongue? Sharp arrows of the mighty, with coals of juniper. Woe is me, that I sojourn in Meshach, and I dwell in the tents of Kedar. By the way, Meshach means drawing out, and Kedar means the dark. Put them together. David was upset because he was dwelling and being drawn out of a place of darkness. He was dwelling in darkness, the tents of Kedar, but he's being drawn out. And that can be a trying time, a hard time. My soul longs for him that has peace. I am for peace, but when I speak, they are for war. Now, why is this important, right? Psalms 120. Why is it important? Because it comes into play when I start telling you the rest of the story. I didn't think anything of it. I just kind of clicked on the dude's video, and then I clicked off after hearing that psalm. And I thought, whoa, that's kind of exactly how I feel. Because it's like, I want peace. I want peace. And all I'm hearing seems like everybody wants war. You know, there's a great story of the prophet Elijah. He was another one of them kooky prophets, right? And he was running for his life, and he went up the mountain. He was trying to hear from God. He wanted to hear from God, and he ends up in the cleft of this mountain, which is kind of interesting because the cleft of a mountain could be your ear. And he's in this place where, you know, he wants to hear from God. And then there was this big, earthquake, and there was this big, storm, and this big tornado, and the scripture says that God wasn't in the storm, God wasn't in the huge fire, God wasn't in it all. He was in this still small voice that came to him afterwards. I think I heard that voice today. I didn't literally hear it, so settle down in the peanut gallery, you little troll. You out there? You out there trolling? Trollies? Don't be trolling me, because I love you. That's why I give everybody kisses. So after going through this time seeking, oh man, I was just like, I need to know. I need to know something. I need to know. And that's when it hits me, the number 12. I didn't even put two and two together. I didn't even realize that like everywhere I looked, I saw that 12. It was very strange. So, I do like I always do when I get those, what I call breadcrumbs. I got to seeking. Went to Google because I figured, if 12's a big deal, and by the way, by the end of this video, this is going to make sense. Okay, this is going to make sense, and it ties into 144,000, and it ties into a chapter in Revelation. Now, I know what you're saying. If you start looking for something, you're going to find it, right? So I think about this number 12, and I start by just doing just a search on the internet, finding out what can I find out in the past. See, I like to do it within the past week or the past 24 hours, because now there's a sailboat. You see that? How cute. Little sailboat bopping around in the back. I've never used this animation before. I hope you're enjoying it. And I know people like to say, Jacob, how am I supposed to take you seriously when you're being such a goofball? You see, this is what I call dealing with being a little uncomfortable about the things I'm talking to you about. Because by the end of the video, all this stuff can be a little concerning, but it's actually really good news. It's good news for a lot of us. A lot of people say that God speaks to us through numbers too. Gematria and all, as they say. So I do a little quick search of the number 12, and you know what I find out? There's a lot of stuff. Unlike every major media outlet has some kind of number 12 in their story. Oh my goodness, this is going to freak you out. This is so weird. So let's start slow before you get freaked out. Okay, so today's news, 12 years old and pregnant. Alabama's abortion ban bill will punish girls like me, USA Today, and other news outlets, right? 12. No big deal. That's a coincidence. Oh, wait and see if you're saying that by the end. After 12 seasons, Big Bang writers bid farewell to their surrogate family. NPR. Today. New details about the ambush. Killing of 12 Israeli commandos. Hezbollah chief reveals how the Israeli soldiers were tracked in Lebanon. PGA.com today, 12 essential numbers that stick out at the 2019 PGA Championship. No big deal. 12's not that. It's not that weird, right? So let's just continue on. Let's talk about 120. Like Psalms 120, right? How about the news that was in today on Fox? How 120 illegal immigrants were discovered inside of a locked trailer. 120. Or what about the Archdiocese of New York? Guess what? Today's news too. USA Today. New York Archdiocese releases a list of 120 priests accused of child abuse. 120. Hey, did you know that Bitcoin is up 120% year to date? That's Market Watch yesterday. Daily Republic's talking about some meth guy who, 120 days for meth possession. Hey, here's a big one for people who like Uber, right? Uber, guess what their news was? They wanted an IPO that started with 120 billion. That was their valuation. Uber's valuation in today's news, right? 120 billion. 120. Shall we move over to 1,200? 1,200? Shall we do that now? Guess what? 1,200 dolphins just washed up dead on the shore. Speaking of fish, also in the news today, fisherman reels in a 1,200-pound shark. How cool is that? Fox News. Hey, how about you sports fanatics out there? You hear about, what's his name? Federer? Roger Federer, right? Yeah. He clinches his 1,200th career win at the Madrid Open. That's today's news. Good job, dude. What about all you gamers out there, huh? You Fortnite players, you pew, 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 right? Yes, 1,200 Fortnite World Cup players banned. That's from Engadget. Yeah, banned. Now this is where I got a little tricked out because I said, well, what does this all mean, right? And then I stumble upon this news about Google's AI. Now this is where the show gets a little freaky. Okay, so Google's AI just did something remarkable. You know what it was? They just solved 1,200 mathematical theorems. They proved it. 1,200. Google's AI. New Scientist just reported on this. That's pretty much like every man-made theorem that has ever been, solved by this AI. That's huge. So I thought, well, maybe it has something to do with AI. But I was wrong. Hey, you're going to really freak. You're going to really freak when I tell you this one. Speaking of AI, who comes to mind? Who comes to mind? Mr. Simulation Theory himself, Elon Musk, Tesla. Guess what they just did? Did you know that they were planning on blanketing the Earth with satellites? Yeah. Blanketing the Earth with satellites. So guess what went up? Today, they revealed their plans to launch the first of 12,000 StarLink satellites. 12,000. The first of 60. The plan is to blanket the world, surround the world with satellites everywhere. That's a lot of 12s. 12, 1,200, 120, 12,000. Oh, speaking of 12,000, remember the program I just did about that YouTuber James Charles? There's the news was that supposedly it's probably fake news that he spent $12,000 to get new subscribers. Yesterday in the Daily Mail, a Florida-based firm, Juniz, is taking 12,000 employees in China on a 6-day trip to Switzerland after they hit their sales targets. 12,000. That was the Daily Mail. Yeah, speaking of 12,000 in China, here's another little quinky-dinky, right? Little quinky-dinky. Yesterday, China trade war could close 12,000 U.S. stores. 12,000 U.S. stores closing, yeah. UBS apparel stocks hit again. That was investors yesterday. On and on and on. And then, of course, we have, President Trump and 120,000, and it's like I didn't make the connection. But the interesting thing is that at the start of this video, I was quoting Psalms 120. how, we could feel that way. We could feel that way. We could feel like Elijah sometimes in that cleft of the mountain, right up there in that little cave, waiting to hear from God, scared, thinking, oh, the world's going to come to an end. And we go through a lot of hard times. God doesn't seem to be in our hard times, does he? But afterwards, in that moment afterwards, when you just, that still small voice, you're just listening, right? That's when the truth is spoken. 12, 120, 1,200, 12,000, 120,000, all within, 48 hours? All these major, and more. So it got me thinking, let's go to the Bible, huh? What's this 12,000 about, right? And what do I pull up? Revelation 7. Revelation 7, if you don't know, it's about a great time of tribulation. It's right before that great time comes. What happens is God sends his angels to seal 12,000 members of 12 tribes, to seal those that are called to do God's will, to seal those, to set them free, to dry up their eyes, to wipe away their tears. 12,000 from each tribe. 12,000 times 12 tribes is 144,000. It's a coincidence, right? Life is hardest right before the summit. Good times, they seem to arrive after a bunch of difficult times. Sometimes we're stubborn. Sometimes we need, we need a little bit of coercion. We need things not to go our way to get us to go to our knees and just say, I'm sorry for what I'm doing wrong. I'm sorry that I'm living for myself, and I'm sorry that I haven't paid attention to my fellow man. Because what I do to others, I do to you, because we're all connected. We're all one. But that moon that's coming, the milk moon, I think it's going to be a time where people who maybe weren't really that faithful at all start to have some insight. Maybe the lights are going to go on, right? Maybe I'm going to get that breakthrough, and you're going to get that breakthrough that we're all waiting for. I mean, if that's where your head's at, and that's where your heart's at, and you're making your family the best it's ever been, and you're loving like you've never loved before, and you're forgiving, and you're letting go of all the nonsense, you'll be sealed indeed. So perhaps I'm seeing that number 12, that number 120, that number 1,200, that 12,000, that 120,000. Seeing it everywhere so that I can come and get all of you to see a new day, one where the truth of God is not lost on you, where the milk, the simple doctrine, right, or the corn is planted. A new day where we can finally be free. Just like it says, if you're sealed, you will be. I love each and every one of you. Thank you for having some fun with me. This was a fun show. This is a little out there. I like this little computer stuff. It's fun. All right, look, do me a favor. Share the video around. Tell it it's very important. Share the video around. It helps the channel. Like it, comment, do all that stuff, and know how much you're loved. And know that if you're going through a hard time right now, if you just seek some answers in the midst of it, you may not get it right away, but you'll get it right when you finally have that breakthrough that day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.